Irritability is just inevitable in the summer. It is a time of Pitta. Pitta is known as earth and fire, predominantly fire, and so it's little wonder that we get out of sorts in summer. For this practice, you may need a strap, you may need a couple of blocks, a blanket, which I'm sitting on, or maybe a bolster, a towel, and just come into an easy seat. Leave the rest of your day behind and come into a nice, neutral disposition. We're leaving that fire behind. We're going to burn that off with this gentle Yin Yoga practice. Come into a tabletop position, reach back. We're coming into a toe squat, so reach back and bring your toes forward. Just slowly get into this position. I am open and receptive to change. Slowly begin to take your hands to your knees and then begin to walk them up your knees. Bring your hips over your toes. Your spine is straight. You probably will have to bring your head a little further back than you are used to doing. And just breathe in and out slowly through your nose. Begin to walk your hands back down into a tabletop position. Paddle your feet out on your mat and bring your hips back to your heels. You might want to grab a block. You may need to sit on that block. Or a towel or a blanket. We're going into hero's pose, just sitting back, our heels on our feet, with a long straight spine. Letting those ankles decompress. We're working with the Liver Meridian mainly today. And that deals with the top of your foot, your groin, your inner thighs. We're also working on Muladhara or root chakra, which deals with security, being and having enough, and when it's out of balance can cause irritability. Slowly begin to lean back if that's comfortable for you. You can let your head fall back so your throat gets a nice stretch. It's an area of our body we very rarely stretch. And then slowly begin to walk your hands back towards your knees, back into tabletop. Stretch your legs straight out behind you, coming down to your elbows into Sphinx pose. You can always put a block under your forearms if that's more comfortable for you. Make sure you're not clenching your glutes. I know I often do when I first get into this pose. And unlike me, gaze down slightly at your mat so that your neck is in line with your spine. I have enough. As you can see here, I've got my neck more in line with my spine. So if you are a Pitta dosha, according to Ayurveda, and it's summer, both are predominantly fire. And if you're out of balance in your dosha, that's going to create even more irritability. A Pitta dosha is not a bad thing. They are leaders, they are take charge people, but any dosha, personality, when it's out of balance, is not a great thing. And if you'd like to go a little deeper into this pose, just begin to straighten out your arms, moving into seal pose without locking out your elbows. Once again, notice what your glutes are doing. Gaze is slightly down at the mat. I have enough. I am enough. Begin to walk your hands back towards your hips, coming into a tabletop position. Grab a block. Take your hips down to your heels and your arms down by your side if that feels right for you. And maybe your head on a block. Some of the poses in this particular practice are a little bit more advanced, kind of an intermediate poses. So I'm moving a little quicker through these poses than I normally would. Go ahead and bring yourself upright and bring yourself to face the long side of your mat. Take your left knee on top of your right knee and then twist towards your left with a nice long straight spine. This is shoelace pose. I release the need to be right. Take your hands to the front and then walk them over towards the right side. A slight twist. You can always have a blanket or towel between your knees too, if they're not one on top of the other. Your choice. There's also an option to sit on a bolster or possibly have one leg straight. Both can make it feel a little bit more comfortable. If you'd like to go deeper into this pose, take your right foot on top of your left knee, or just stay in shoelace and begin to walk your hands straight out in front of you. You grab a block if you'd like to put your head on a block. This is a deep hip opener. We're trying to warm up those hips for a few poses a little later on. Let your head just release towards the mat. Shoulders relax. I release the need to be right. Begin to walk your hands back towards your legs. Take the soles of your feet to the mat, wide apart, and then just windshield wiper your legs, letting one knee fall in, and the other knee fall in, just releasing our hips. Like I said, we're getting pretty deeply into hips today. And now we're going to do second side. Take your right knee on top. Try and get your feet back by your hips as much as possible. And we're going to go ahead and twist towards the right. So you're twisting towards the side whose knee is on top. I release the need to be right. Go ahead and walk through center, over to the left side, making sure we're even, side to side. As always, you may feel tighter on one side than the other. It's very normal. Much more abnormal to be perfectly balanced on your whole body. And bring your hands back to center. If you'd like to go a little deeper into your hip opening, come into square with your right foot on top of your left knee, and then begin to walk your hands away from your body Maybe grabbing a block first to put your head on if that is comfortable to you. Coming down to your forearms if that's comfortable to you. Letting gravity really take a hold of your head, your shoulders, your back. Just letting go. I release the need to be right. Like I said, we're coming up on a couple of poses that are a little bit more advanced. They should be within reach for you, and we worked on warming up your hips. We're going to be getting into those hips. So just be careful, come into them slowly. Go ahead and grab a block. We're going to go into a squat. You may also want a blanket or a towel. I'm going to be using that blanket. Now, if squatting is difficult for you, especially deep squat, you can sit on top of a block, which is precarious. I always have a little trouble with it, but it does work really well. It can really help. I won't be using the block today. And I'm going to face the long side of the mat just so you can see what I'm doing. You can be facing the short end if you'd like. I'm going to have my feet on my blanket because my heels don't stay on the ground when I squat deeply. And you want to have something that your heels can release into. That's why I have the blanket there. And slowly, slowly come down into your squat, trying to keep your spine long, trying to have your knees and your feet both pointing in the same direction, although as you can see I have mine out just a little bit, and that may feel more comfortable for you, and that's fine. It's perfectly fine. It's about what works in your body. I am secure. And go ahead and bring your knees wide apart on your towel or your blanket or your mat if it's comfortable for you. And this is frog pose. We want our ankles to be about in line with our knees. You can try having your hips even higher if that makes the pose more accessible for you. You can come down onto your forearms or use a block. Or you can just stay in a squat if frog is a bit too much on your knees or your hips. You can also try bringing your toes together instead of having your feet so far apart. I am safe. This is a pretty intense inner thigh stretch. It also gets into our hips, some areas that we don't get into on a regular basis. I am safe. Again, notice if you're gripping anything anywhere. Do what you need to do in order to let go of that sensation of gripping, of clenching, trying to make the pose more easeful for you. And as we stay in this pose for a little while, you may find that you become closer and closer to the ground as gravity does its work. But as always, it's not about coming so deeply into the pose that you are going past your edge. Anytime you feel pain, please stop, modify the pose, choose an easier pose. You should never ever feel pain in yoga. Go ahead and begin to walk your hands back towards your feet. We're going to briefly come into child's pose. You can either leave the blanket down for your knees, or just remove it. I have my legs together. You can have your legs wide apart, whatever feels right for your body. And next we're going to move into straddle. And you may want to sit on a bolster or a block. That can make the pose a little bit more accessible. I'm going to sit on a block. Begin to walk your hands back towards your knees. You want to face the long end of your mat again. So you're going to take one knee out and then the other knee out, both legs straight out. You might want to grab another block, but first sit up tall. Okay to have your knees bent. And we're going to turn towards the right. And once again, just let your head be really heavy. Your block is by your knee or on your knee. And maybe your head reaches it, maybe it doesn't. Play around with it. See what's working for you today. Remember, what works today may not work tomorrow, may not have worked yesterday. Our bodies are different day to day, and we need to respect that. But just let go here. Relax into the pose. Let the time and gravity do their magic. I am calm in difficult situations. Begin to walk your hands back towards your legs, and let's take second side, moving to our left leg. First, sitting up with a nice tall spine, and then just beginning to let go. We're releasing over our left leg. And maybe your head reaches the block, maybe it doesn't. This side was a little easier for me. Like I said, very normal to have one side feel easier than the other. Sitting on the block and straddle can help you have a little bit more range of motion. But we're not going beyond our edge. We're not trying to have our legs straight out one side and the other. We're going to our edge, where we're feeling something, but we're not pushing past that sensation and into pain. Begin to walk your hands back towards your body. And finally, we're going to come straight out in front. Once again, you may want to block for your head. Walk your arms away from your body. I am calm in difficult situations. Let your head be really heavy. And just really let go. Let your head point towards your mat. Let all those worries and those thoughts that are always whirling in your mind just pour out of your head into your mat and be absorbed by the earth. Begin to walk your hands back towards your body. Take the soles of your feet to your mat. Release the block or bolster or blanket if you're sitting on one. Face the short end of your mat. Eventually, you may want to strap, but for now, just move it off to the side. Move your blocks off to the side, and bring your knees into your chest. And bring your soles of your feet down to the mat. Bring the top of your body over to the left side of the mat. Your hips are on the right side. And then take your feet over towards the left side of the mat. And we're trying to get the body pointing up and both hips on the mat. We're not trying to roll over onto one side. And if you'd like to bring it just a little bit deeper, cross one foot on top of the other. My energy flows freely. And then begin to soften your whole body into the mat, feeling supported by the earth. A really nice stretch across the whole side of your body. My energy flows freely. Feel your body begin to feel very heavy. Maybe kind of widening on your mat, kind of spreading out. Feeling that support. Feeling supported in your root chakra. Feeling very secure, very safe. And begin to move your top body towards the center of the mat. And your feet are on either side of your mat. And windshield wiper your legs, letting them fall over to one side and the other. Releasing our low back and our hips before we move into the other side. And bring your hips over towards the left side of your mat. And the top of your body towards the right side, and your legs also towards the right side. We're trying to make a banana shape of our body, which is why this is called Banana Asana. And again, you're trying to point your body up towards the ceiling, towards the sky, and trying to have both hips on your mat if possible. There's really no right or wrong when it comes to postures, asanas, unless you feel pain. My energy flows freely. And let go on this side. Feel that nice side release on this second side. My energy flows freely. Begin to take your top body to the center of the mat. Your feet come back so the soles of your feet are on the mat, and then bring your knees into your chest and begin to move your legs in circles, letting the knees fall open. And then bring them up towards your chest and in together. Another back release, hip release. Come to stillness. Take your left foot to the mat. Take your right leg, bent knee towards your shoulder. Now this is, if you're particularly tight in your hamstring, this is where you might want a strap. You can take your hands behind your thigh. You can take your strap also behind your thigh or around the top of your foot. I'm going to go ahead and just take my peace sign fingers, my first two fingers, and put them around my big toe. Try and get the elbow on the inside of my knee. If you'd like to go a little deeper into half happy baby, you can stretch out the opposite leg on the mat. And if you do have your leg, the other leg bent, go ahead and let that knee open towards the side if it feels good to you. And this is going to get you a little deeper into that hip and get you a little more balanced across your hips. But it's all about what feels right in your body. Don't want you to follow me because I'm the teacher. I want you to be your own teacher. I will give you guidance and I will give you cues, but I do not live in your body. You do. I find joy in every day. And if you can, try and keep your glutes and your low back on the mat. Go ahead and release that top foot. Bring the sole of that foot down to your mat. Bring your second side, that knee towards your shoulder, grabbing onto your leg wherever you grabbed on the first side. And maybe letting the opposite leg, the one that you're not holding on to, fall open for a deeper hip stretch. Totally up to you. I find joy in every day. And it's doing a little yoga with me here. There's nothing that's going to release irritability more than petting a beloved fur kid. and let go of the foot you're holding. Bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees fall wide while you're still laying on your back. This is our last pose before moving into Savasana, reclined butterfly. Let your arms come down by your side. They can be in a T, they can be near your hips. Palms up or palms down. Palms down is more grounding. Palms up are a sign of receptivity. I release the need to control. And if you find you can't let your knees relax in this position, you can always prop them up with blocks. Take your hands to your thighs and gently press your knees together. Once again, one last time, let's windshield wiper our legs, letting them fall on one side and then the other. Those hips have worked really hard for you this whole practice, so treat them with love. And we're going to go into our final Savasana. I chose not to bring a bolster out with me today, so I'm going to put blocks under each knee, and then I'm going to put a blanket on top of those blocks. And that just lets your knees relax into something. It takes the place of a bolster. And come on down. Your feet can also be stretched straight out on your mat. Arms are also straight out on your mat, a little ways out from your body. Eyes are closed if that's comfortable for you. If not, have them slightly open, but take your gaze to the tip of your nose, trying to bring your attention inward. Whenever you're really irritable, it's time to bring compassion to yourself. Realize that you're irritable. And think about what it is that's making you irritable and how that feels. Where do you feel it in your body? What does it feel like? Is it sharp? Is it... you can't quite pinpoint where it is? Is it throbbing? How is it affecting your breath? Does that feeling have a color? And once you've given yourself the okay to feel what you're feeling, and you've examined what you're feeling, acknowledge that you are irritable and how it feels, then it's time to give yourself grace. William Hazlitt said, "Grace has been defined as the outward expression of the inward harmony of the soul." Let your forehead soften. Notice the breath coming in and out through your nostrils. Relax your jaw. Relax your ears. Soften your neck and your shoulders. Feel your arms being supported by the earth. Your whole torso being supported by the earth. Know that you are safe. Know that you are secure. Feel your legs supported by the bolster or your mat and the earth. Relax your ankles and your feet. And let go. And let this practice really integrate into your body. Begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, maybe circling your wrists and your ankles. Really stretch your arms up above your head and your feet away from your arms. Big, long stretch as if you're just waking up in the morning. Take one knee into your chest and the other. Maybe wiggle your hips a little bit. Maybe turn your head from side to side gently. And then turning towards the right, propping your head up on your arm, keeping your eyes closed. I really like to take a little extra time in this position, letting everything from our practice sink in, letting that nice, calming, soothing, parasympathetic nervous system take over. Not rushing into the next thing on our to-do list, but really letting everything that you've worked on throughout this practice integrate into your body, integrate into your mind, integrate into your spirit. Bandit thinks I've been laying here a little too long. Slowly begin to push yourself up into an easy seated position. If you found yourself feeling really irritable this summer, I really hope that this practice is of help to you. I know it made me feel a lot happier. Sorry I can't give you Bandit. Thank you so much for joining me today. You should feel a whole lot better now. I hope so. And if you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and click the like button. Thank you so much for joining me today. Take this feeling of calmness, of serenity, into the rest of your day. Namaste. And if you enjoyed this, don't forget to click the subscribe button. Bandit's showing you how.